Hey movie lovers, welcome back to Twin Flicks, where we always celebrate the magic of movies and most importantly, physical media with you guys. Now first, before we get into this video, I want to give a huge welcome to some new subscribers that we received over the past month. So I want to welcome everyone to the channel. But yeah, we love physical media here. In fact, I'm going to grab this. If you love doing this, it's like cocaine. Then you need to subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell to be notified when all new videos drop. Now before we get into a Blu-ray versus 4K comparison review, this actually has quite a bit of controversy itself. And I wanted to address it. I've seen some reviews and read some reviews where they gave this a poor rating because of how the image quality looks. Not the colors, but the image quality itself, saying that it was shot on 16mm. This is untrue. The film was obviously shot on 35mm. You can look anywhere online. You can see interviews, look at the tech specs. They all prove that this was shot on 35mm. And I think that the reason why sometimes people are saying this is because of the odd, grimy, grainy look of the film. And the film cinematographer actually goes in depth about this even more in an interview on this disc. Because the film was mainly shot on handheld cameras and not Steadicams, and there was a lot of usage of different filters, lighting, gels. They even adjusted the camera settings to give it a chaotic look that the film has and needs in the film. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. As the film cinematographer put it, the film was never intended to be sunshine and rainbows or bright, vibrant, saturated primary colors. Instead, the film has a rather cool, steely, decaying look, which 100% goes with the entire tone of the film. Now, when the movie hit Blu-ray in 2011, it looked great, but it also had some changes with the color and also some image tweaks that was different than the director or its cinematographer intended it to look. And quite honestly, it was different. It looked different than how I remembered seeing it in the theater. And then a few years later, it came to light that, in fact, Universal did change some of the color grading and tweak the image as they've done in the past. Now, as a quick side note, in the past, I'm talking about 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Almost every studio, they would go in and change the color grading, tweak the image solely for home media viewing only. The reason for this is because it was all being seen at home and watched on 4x3 TVs. However, this all changed around 2015, 2016 when 16:9 4K TVs started coming into people's homes. And because of that, studios like Kino Lorber, like Shout Factory, like Criterion, have been bringing back in the director and the cinematographer to change the color grading back to its originally intended theatrical colors. And not necessarily its theatrical colors, because that would kind of be impossible, but as close to the intended colors as possible. And that's exactly what happened with today's movie. They brought in the DP to supervise and approve the restoration and ensure that the intended accurate color grading is there. But how much difference is there between this new 4K UHD with the new color grading and between the Blu-ray? Is it worth upgrading to or picking up? Well, we're going to find out, and as usual, I have screenshots so you can compare the two differences between the Blu-ray and the 4K yourself as I give my review. So let's get to it. Immediately, comparing it to the 2011 now dated Blu-ray, the 4K is much sharper, clearer, and has some fantastic details with newfound depth in the image. The final details are highly impressive, especially with all the facial close-ups and skin textures. You can make out all the wrinkles, imperfections, stubble, to more subtle details such as makeup, skin blemishes. And also clothing, you can see the stitching of fabric and the knitting in hats and scarves. also with the various set pieces, has much better details, especially during the filtered lighting conditions that look spectacular. There is just a whole lot more detail and textural going on here than there ever was before on the Blu-ray. And the HDR Dolby Vision color grading does nothing but enhance these colors, especially during the dream and memory illusions. And the black levels have much more evenly inkier, deeper blacks, and during night and low light sequences, giving the image much better detail. Skin tones are also more natural, unlike the Blu-ray where the skin tones were kind of all over the place, from hot tones to neutral tones, depending on the filters being used in the scene. It just was very inconsistent. There's also a very nice, excellent fine layer of grain throughout that's much more better resolved and gives us that very nice filmic cinematic appearance, and the grain also helps to improve the depth and texture to the images. The Blu-ray had all types of problems with inconsistencies of fluctuating or swarming grain levels. I also noticed the image stability is much better than the Blu-ray, especially with different in-camera opticals, titles, and so on. Hands down, this is the best I've ever seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind since I saw it back in the day in the theater. And I've owned every version. I've owned the VHS, I've owned the Laserdisc, I've owned the DVD, I've owned the Blu-ray. This is just a superb 4K UHD presentation. As for the audio, we don't have an Atmos track. Instead, it's the same lossless DTS HD 5.1 track, and still, it's a very impressive surround track. John Bryan's score is clear and open. Jim Carrey's narration throughout the film is very clear and perfectly flows from the center channel to the surround channels. His narration literally envelops you in the soundstage, and it's quite impressive. The entire soundstage is wide open and filled with various surround effects used all over the 5.1 discrete channels. Again, completely encompassing you in this world of sound and chaos that's very pleasing to your ear. This is a audiophile's wet dream soundtrack. So my score for Kino Lorber's 4K UHD presentation of, what's this called again? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The video, I'm giving it a 4 out of a 5. The audio, I'm giving it a 5 out of a 5. As my dad used to say, opinions are like belly buttons. So let me know down below in the comments, when you compare the differences here with these two screenshots between the Blu-ray and the 4K, which do you consider looks better? Or do you see any difference at all? Let me know down below in the comments. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this little 4K comparison review video. Remember, if you haven't done so already, consider being a subscriber and hit that notification bell, because I have more than this coming up and I'm excited to share it with you. And as always, keep doing your part in keeping physical media alive, and I'll see you next time.